Hey guys, so I just recently passed my CCNA exam, and I thought it'd be nice to create these sort of beginner tutorials on some CCNA concepts whenever I have some extra time. So today's the first video I'll be uploading, and we'll see how this goes. Today we're talking about DHCP. So it stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, and it's a layer 3 protocol, but I think there's some controversy as to whether it's layer 7 or layer 3. But either way, what it does is it dynamically allocates IP addresses to hosts on a network. In most small office, home office, small businesses, it's the router that also functions as a DHCP server, but there are cases sometimes in bigger businesses where you have a dedicated DHCP server. But today we'll be looking at how to configure a Cisco router as a DHCP server. Most of the questions on the CCNA are Cisco specific anyway. So before we get into the actual configuration, I want to look at how DHCP works. So when a DHCP client needs an IP address, it'll send a DHCP discover packet, discover request packet to the DHCP server. And the server, it has a pool of IP addresses, and when it receives this discover request, it'll look at the pool of IP addresses and say, all right, I have an IP address for you. And it'll send a DHCP offer packet. The client will then be like, all right, that IP looks fine to me. I'll take it. And then it sends a DHCP request packet saying, I'm okay with the IP address you offered, and now I'm requesting it from you. The server finally sends a ACK packet, which stands for acknowledgement, saying, cool, here you go. This is your lease. I'm leasing you this IP address for 24 hours. So it's sort of like buying something. DHCP Discover is like discovering a store and talking to the guy at the counter and being like, I will have one of your finest bread. And the vendor or the server will look in the back and he sees that he has bread in stock and he'll go, all right, I'll give it to you. I will offer you my finest bread. And this is sort of where my analogy falls apart, because you wouldn't request it again. But you'd sort of be like, thank you for your offer. I will accept it, and I'm requesting the bread be transferred from your hand to mine. That's sort of what the DHCP request is like. And the ACK packet is like a receipt. Like, okay, this happened. You get the bread for exactly 24 hours. And then we do this whole thing again. So the analogy doesn't work very well, but I'm hoping you get the point. So now let's take a look at the actual configuration and the need for it in a network. So I'm going to make a very basic network here. I'm going to add a router, a switch, and 3 computers like this. Let's get everything connected up. Now for these computers to communicate with each other, they need to be on the same subnet. So let's say that this is the 192.168.0.0/24 subnet or network. Then these devices need to be 192.168.0.2, 3, and 4 respectively, with 0.1 being the default gateway. And so there's 2 ways I can assign those IP addresses. I can manually go in here and set this one equal to 192.168, if I can type it, .0.2, and then set the subnet mask, set the default gateway. But this isn't scalable. In a network with hundreds and hundreds of devices, you can see that you can't manually set this. It's not efficient. And so that's where DHCP comes into play. So we're going to set the computer to use DHCP, and we'll do the same for the other 2, DHCP. And next we will go ahead into the router and look at the actual configuration. So we're going to double click this, go into the command line interface or CLI. And it's the first time we're opening up the router, so it's going to ask about the initial configuration dialog. This isn't necessary, so you can go ahead and type no. Press return to get started, and we're going to enter enable mode. So EN will do that. It's short for enable. And then we're going to enter global configuration mode, and that is done by typing conf t, which is short for configure terminal. Now from here, we're going to create the DHCP pool. So the way we do that is by typing IP DHCP pool, and then the name of the pool. So I'm going to call mine tutorial pool, like this. Go ahead and hit enter. Now you can see that the prompt has changed, and we're in the DHCP config. So now we're going to add the IP address range that we want to the pool. The way we do that is by typing network, and then this is the 0.0 subnet, so we're going to put 192.168.0.0, and then the subnet mask, so 255.255.255.0. We can go ahead and hit enter. Next, I also want the default
gateway to be sent through DHCP. And so we're going to type default, and I can hit tab to autocomplete. So default router 192.168.0.1. Go ahead and enter. And so that's sending the default gateway, which we haven't configured yet, but we will through DHCP. So now let's go ahead and do that. Let's configure this interface on the router as the default gateway. So we're going to type int for interface, and then this is the interface that we want. So gigabit Ethernet 000. So we'll type GI 000. Now you can see we're in the interface config, and we'll type IP address. I'm going to hit tab 192.168.0.1 with the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Go ahead and hit enter, and then we're going to type no shut, which is short for no shutdown, which will bring this interface up. So we'll hit enter there, and you can see that the line protocol on interface gigabit Ethernet 000 changed state to up. And you can see that this connection has also turned green, and if I give it some time, so this button fast forwards in time basically, this whole connection has turned from amber to green. All right, so now we can, that's it. The configuration is over, and if we hover over these, we can see that this computer has got the IP address 0.2, this one has 0.3, and this one has 0.4. And the beauty in this is that, let's say my company is scaling and I'm adding another employee. All right, people are buying my bread, and we're scaling so much that we need one more employee, and he needs his own computer. So now we have this computer. We just add it to the network, go into, just plug it in, and now this one, if we give it some time, will have the 0.5 IP, and it can communicate with these ones. So the letter P on my keyboard will allow me to send a packet through my network. So I'm starting from this computer and going to this computer, and you can see that that's successful. And same with any of these, they all can communicate with each other. And what that looks like is just if I go into the command prompt on one of these and I type ping 192.168.0.5, for example, so our newbie, you can see that I'm getting replies. So the communication is there. All right, guys, so that was how to configure a Cisco router as a DHCP server. If you have any questions, feedback, hate comments even, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.